Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the room, take a breath, drop the weight. You've been carrying the world like it never learned your name. I know the smile on the outside, the storm you keep hid, the bills, the grief, the pressure, all the things you never said. But listen, I've seen warriors build from a broken day, turn a scar into a map and a hard no into a way. From the barracks to the boardroom, from the block to the base. If you still got a pulse, baby, you still got a place. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. That's the reset. Reset, reset, reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day. You the bounce back, flex, stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. Yeah. Yeah. Talk to the sleepless, the tired, the I'm fine crowd. The nurses, the truckers, the moms, the soldiers holding ground. The vets with the silence, the kids trying to be men. The women with 100 jobs and nobody checking in. You can heal in the dark, you can start where you stand. A journal, a prayer, a call, a clean slate in your hands. Don't let shame run the tape, don't let fear get the wheel. You were built for the rebuild, you were made to get real. So breathe in, breathe out, let the old story fall. You can break, you can bend, but you still answer the call. From the hurt to the hope, from the loss to the light. We don't quit in the morning, we reset and we fight. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. This the reset, 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 reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day, you the bounce back, flex, stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. For the ones still standing, for the ones still growing, for the hearts that got heavy but kept on going. Dr. J on the mic and the message is set. Heal loud, rise proud. That's the reset. That's the reset. That's the reset. That's the reset.
Hey, y'all. Good morning. Welcome to the Reset with Dr. J, where we take those WTF moments and we turn them into breakthroughs. So I am your host, Dr. J. I'm an Army veteran. I am a therapist. I am a speaker. And today we are practicing what we preach. That is what we are doing today, because I woke up, or actually I went to bed with vertigo, and then I woke up with vertigo. If you've never had vertigo before, congratulations. I love that for you, because there's nothing quite like sitting perfectly still while your brain is like, actually, I think we're on a boat. Like, it is so frustrating and confusing. And yeah, so I was like, all right, what about today's show? So my first thought was, okay, how am I going to push through this? Because that's what we do, right? We assess the situation and then immediately start figuring out how to override it. I have things to do. People are expecting me. This needs to get done. And I said I was going to do it. I don't have time for this today. And somewhere in there, I caught myself. And so I was like, well, all right. Maybe the question isn't how do I make myself operate at my normal capacity today? Maybe the question is, what is my capacity today? And what does it look like to work with that instead of fighting against it? Whew. Those are very different questions, right? So that's what we're talking about today. What happens when today is simply not a push through day? Because it's just not. Like when you have something like vertigo that comes on, it's even hard to like read my show notes a little bit. But we adjust, right? Like that's what we do. So how do you know the difference between giving up and adjusting? Why do so many of us feel guilty when we can't perform at our usual level? And what would happen if, instead of treating every limitation like we need to conquer something, we learned how to accurately assess the mission? So, yes, my military folks already know exactly where I'm going with that. Um, Quick reminder though, before we get into it, I am a therapist, but I am not your therapist. So, this show is for educational purposes and conversation only, not therapy. But if there is a crisis, or if there's something going on in your life where you need to talk to somebody, 988, or text it, 988. If you call 988 plus one, because that is who is familiar with military culture. And sometimes we need a little something special. Okay, so let me sit here without moving my head too fast. And let's get into it, okay? Um, all right, so let's start here. When did push through become the answer to everything? If you're tired, you push through it. If you're overwhelmed, you push through it. If you're grieving, you push through it. If you're sick, you push through it. If you're emotionally drained, you push through it. If you can't focus, apparently we need another planner, because surely the problem is organization. Listen, sometimes pushing through is necessary. I'm not going to say that it's not, right? There is some nuance here. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there aren't moments in life when, we have to do something even though we don't feel like doing it. So that's adulthood, right? There are bills that absolutely do not care about your journey, okay? But there's a difference between doing something difficult and repeatedly ignoring information from your brain and from your body. And I think a lot of us have gotten those two things confused, especially those of us who have been rewarded for being strong. Military folks, first responders, healthcare workers, therapists, caregivers, parents, business owners, leaders, the person that everyone calls because she'll figure it out. Oh, she'll figure it out all right. She'll figure out that she is tired, that she'll figure it out that she is hungry. She'll figure it out that she's irritated. She'll figure it out with one eye twitching because, it will be figured out, right? And eventually being capable can become like part of your identity. We are the person that will figure it out, the one that everyone comes to. You don't just do hard things, you become the person who handles hard things. And that's where it gets interesting, because once capability becomes part of your identity, having a day where you can't do everything, it doesn't just affect your schedule, like it affects how you see yourself. And that's, suddenly it's like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I focus? Why am I so tired? Why can't I get myself together? And I normally would have gotten all this stuff done, and notice what happens. We went from my capacity is different today to something is wrong with me. And those are not the same. And the brain responds differently to both of them. So we have to be careful with that. So let's talk about the brain for a minute without, turning this into neuroscience 101 or 401 or whatever. Your brain and your body are constantly taking information in. So am I safe? How much energy do I have? What's happening around me? What needs my attention? What can wait? Your ability to think, focus, regulate emotions, make safe decisions, and tolerate stress is not completely identical every single day. Sleep matters. Stress matters. Illness matters. Pain matters. Grief matters. Hormones matter. What happens in your environment, it matters. So sometimes you simply have less bandwidth, but here's what humans love to do. Whew. We take today's capacity and compare it to our best day capacity. That's disrespectful, okay? Because we're sitting here saying, well, last Tuesday I answered 47 emails, saw 6 people, worked out, made dinner, handled everybody else's emergency, and reorganized my closet. Okay. And today you didn't. It's a different day. There are different inputs, different capacity. That's not an excuse. It's literally data. And I want you to remember that word today, data, because your body gives you information. Your emotions give you information. Fatigue gives you information. Frustration gives you information. Difficulty concentrating gives you information. Information does not automatically mean stop, but it does mean pay attention. And there's a difference. And sometimes our problem isn't that we're not resilient or we're not resilient enough or whatever. Our problem is that we're trying to execute yesterday's plan using today's resources. And that doesn't exactly work. Military people understand adapting to conditions. First responders, all of those lists that I just named a few minutes ago. But that's what makes this almost funny, right? Like, because we understand it perfectly when we're talking about a mission. If conditions change, the plan might change. You assess, you adjust, you use information that is available to you. Nobody sensible says, well, this was the original plan at 0600, so I don't care what has happened since then. We're doing exactly that. Notice I said nobody sensible because we know people that are not sensible too. But that's not toughness, right? It's bad planning. But somehow when the conditions change, when it's us, like we have a harder time adjusting. We'll adapt to the weather. We'll adapt to equipment, or we'll adapt to personnel. We'll adapt to the mission. But let our capacity change? Absolutely not. Now we're offended, right? I understand where some of that comes from, obviously, right? There were times in my life where pushing through really served me. There were times when compartmentalizing really served me. There were times when I needed to focus on the next thing and keep moving. So I don't need to demonize that version of myself. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she knew how to do, right? At that stage. But here's something that I have learned. A skill can be useful in one environment and expensive in another. Push through can get you through a mission. It can get you through school. It can get you through an emergency. It can get you through a deadline. But if push through becomes your only setting, now we have a problem. Because eventually you stop asking, what does this situation require? And you start assuming more from me. Every problem does not get the same solution. Do more, try harder, stay up later, carry more, need less, keep moving. And sometimes the most resilient thing that you can do is not push harder. It's accurately assess that situation. So I want to go back to what I said about giving up versus adjusting. And I know somebody listening is thinking, okay, Dr. J, but how do I know, when I'm adjusting and not just making excuses? Because I asked myself that question as well, right? It's fair. It's a fair question because we absolutely can talk ourselves out of things too. So here's how I think about it. Giving up says, I can't do this. Adjusting says, how can I do this based on what I actually have available today? Those are different. So maybe the workout becomes just a walk because you want to move your body, but you just don't have it in you, or maybe physically, mentally, emotionally, it doesn't matter. Maybe the workout becomes a walk. Maybe the 5-item list becomes 2 because those 2 things are doable today. Maybe you move the meeting that doesn't actually need to happen today. Maybe dinner is whatever requires the fewest decisions. Maybe instead of disappearing from everybody because you're overwhelmed, you send a text that says, hey, today is a little rough. I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe you ask for help. Maybe you stop trying to make today's version of you perform like rested, regulated, and fully charged if that's not what is going on right now. So you're not lowering your standards, you're adjusting to the strategy. Think about your phone. Nobody looks at their phone at 12% and says, you know what this phone needs? Higher expectations. No. We're looking for a charger. We're closing apps. We're turning the brightness down. We are figuring out what it needs to stay running. You don't start insulting your phone for being at 12%. 12%? This phone is so lazy. You ought to be able to run all day. Or maybe we do. I don't know. But it's not helpful, right? Other people's phones have 73% and look at you with 12%. That sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Yet, listen to how some of us talk to ourselves when our battery is low. We don't adjust demand. We increase the criticism. And the criticism costs energy too. And that's the part that we forget. Looking at like beating yourself up, that doesn't cost, it's not free, right? Worrying about how much you're accomplishing, it's not free. Trying to hide that you're struggling is not free. And it doesn't help you at all. Pretending that you're fine isn't free. There's a difference between like if a stranger is asking, like how you're doing and then you say you're fine versus like somebody that really cares about you and they want to know how you're doing and you say you're fine. Like we have to start thinking about like the different situations and like how to really be honest, with ourselves and with the people that care about us. All of that uses some of the same like limited capacity that you're complaining about not having. So now you're tired and using little energy that you have left to be mad at yourself for being tired. Make that make sense. So today, my thought pattern was, okay, I'm a little bit dizzy. I don't know exactly what's going on, if it's just one of those vertigo days or whatever, but let me be completely honest, because my capacity is a little bit lower, but I still wanted to show up and just really be honest and talk about it. And then it also made me think about how like it applies to our lives. So I want to give you something practical. We're going to do a capacity check. Nothing complicated. 3 questions. 1, what is true about me today? So we're not asking this with judgment. We're looking for data. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm distracted. Maybe I'm actually feeling pretty good today. Maybe I'm grieving. Maybe I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I'm physically uncomfortable. I'm excited. I have plenty of energy. Whatever is true, name it without actually trying to change it. I just did this in a training the other day, but I was like, let's check your battery. Drop in the chat what's true about you today, right? And it's just being honest and naming it, right? Today I am physically uncomfortable. So That's how I feel. I feel outside of like being dizzy, I feel good. I feel like I got enough sleep. Um, I feel like fulfilled, that like I'm doing meaningful things in my life. I feel like grief is always running in the background because there are people, important people missing from my life that will always be missing. So that's always in the background, but I'm not trying to change it. I'm literally just checking, okay, what's true for me right now? And that's what I want you to do. Question number one is, what is true about me today? And you can drop it in the chat or you can just keep it to yourself, but it's important that you name it. What is true for you today? Question number two, what actually needs to happen today? And I mean actually, I really mean actually, okay? Because some of us have 14 things on the list, and emotionally we make all 14 in an emergency, and then they're not an emergency. So what truly needs your attention? What has consequences if it doesn't happen? What matters the most? And what did you put on today's list because you happen to remember it today? Those things are different. What matters, and then what you're like, oh yeah, I need to do this. Those are different. So identify that. And number two is about what actually needs to happen today. So for me, Sundays are pretty low key. So I'm like, I need to actually, do my episode today. And I'm in an EMDR training, so I need to be present. But that's it, but eating, basic needs need to happen, like eating, hydrating, moving your body. I have to move my body because my dog needs to walk and stuff like that. But today is a basic needs kind of day, rather than me doing so much extra that I might do on a normal day. I don't feel that great. So ask yourself, what actually needs to happen today? Okay. And the third question, given my capacity, what is the smallest way to handle what is in front of me? Not what would Superwoman do? What would Superman do? Not what would I do if I felt better, right? Because the reality is I don't. Not what will make everyone else happy. What is the smartest decision with the information that I have right now? That is the reset. You assess, you prioritize, and you adjust. That third question, given my capacity, what is the smartest way to handle what's in front of me, will help you break it down, okay? And be honest with yourself. Assess, prioritize, adjust. Sometimes after you assess, you're going to say, yep, I can do this. Let's go. Sometimes you're going to say, I can do it, but differently. And sometimes you're going to realize this actually needs to wait. All three questions can be responsible decisions, but we just need to be honest with ourselves, okay? So, I think one of the hardest things for high functioning people to accept is that capacity changes. And this includes myself. We want consistency. We want to know this is what I can do. This is who I am. This is what people can expect from me. But being human is inconveniently human. There will be days when you're operating at 100%, and there will be days when you're operating at 60. There might be a day when getting through what absolutely needs to happen takes everything that you got. And your worth did not fluctuate with that percentage. It's important. So important. Because productivity tells us what you produced. It doesn't tell us who you are. And I think that's where a lot of us need a nice little brain reset. Not how do I force myself back to 100%, but how do I take care of what's important with the capacity I actually have? And today, for me, That means I'm recording this episode with some vertigo. I'm still here. I'm still doing something that matters to me. But I'm also not going to pretend like my body isn't telling me something because I have a microphone and a schedule. Both can exist. I can commit and adjust. I can be disciplined and rest. I can be strong and need something. I can keep moving without pretending that every day requires that same pace. Same pace. And so can you. So here's what I want you to take away, because I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Your capacity is information, not a character evaluation. A hard day does not mean that you all of a sudden become lazy. Needing to adjust doesn't mean that you've lost your discipline. Rest isn't automatically avoiding doing something. And pushing through isn't automatically resilience. The question is, what does this moment require from me? Not yesterday, not last month, not next month, not the version of you that exists in your head and apparently sleeps 8 hours, drinks all their water, answers every email, works out 5 days a week, maintains healthy relationships, cooks dinner, and somehow has already folded the laundry. I don't know that version, okay? I'm talking about you today. Assess the mission, check your resources, adjust accordingly. Because sometimes resilience means pushing, and sometimes resilience means asking for backup. Sometimes resilience means changing the plan. And sometimes resilience means recognizing that today is not a push through day. It's not quitting, it's wisdom. Everything I do is housed on bio.ariellejordan.com. You can learn more about my clinical work, EMDR training, speakings, the Jordan Effect, which is my nonprofit in honor of my late daughter. It supports mental wellness in military connected communities. So you can check me out on that. Make sure you check out the other shows on W.T.F Nation Radio. We have some really great stuff going on all week. And there's a little bit of something for everybody. So if you think there isn't, check that out and see what we got. Take care of yourself this week. And maybe, just maybe, stop beefing with yourself because today's battery isn't at 100%. Work with what you got. Resilience is not optional. It is the mission, okay? I'm Dr. J, and you got this. This is the Reset with Dr. J, where we take those WTF moments and we turn them into breakthroughs. Have a good day, y'all. I'm going to lay down.
Yeah. Welcome to the room, take a breath, drop the weight. You've been carrying the world like it never learned your name. I know the smile on the outside, the storm you keep hid, the bills, the grief, the pressure, all the things you never said. But listen, I've seen warriors build from a broken day, turn a scar into a map and a hard no into a way. From the barracks to the boardroom, from the block to the base. If you still got a pulse, baby, you still got a place. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. That's the reset. Reset, reset, reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day. You the bounce back, flex, stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. Yeah. Yeah. Talk to the sleepless, the tired, the I'm fine crowd. The nurses, the truckers, the moms, the soldiers holding ground. The vets with the silence, the kids trying to be men. The women with 100 jobs and nobody checking in. You can heal in the dark, you can start where you stand. A journal, a prayer, a call, a clean slate in your hands. Don't let shame run the tape, don't let fear get the wheel. You were built for the rebuild, you were made to get real. So breathe in, breathe breathe out, let the old story fall. You can break, you can bend, but you still answer the call. From the hurt to the hope, from the loss to the light. We don't quit in the morning, we reset and we fight. This is the reset, reset, reset. Shake the dust off your chest, let it all get checked. You don't need permission to rise from the wreck. One deep breath, one step. This the reset, 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 reset. When the mind gets loud, we bring the truth back in effect. You are not your worst day, you the bounce back. Flex, stand tall, come alive. That's the reset. For the ones still standing, for the ones still growing, for the hearts that got heavy but kept on going. Dr. J on the mic, and the message is set. Heal loud, rise proud. That's the reset.